What's up, everybody? You are watching the Show. This is Aaron. I'm joined as always by my cousin and partner in pop culture crime, Landon.
Good day.
Before we dive in, make sure you are hitting that like button, you're subscribing, you're ringing that bell so you can catch all of our latest content drops. Today, we are traveling back in time once again uh, we're gonna hit Star Trek Next Generation season 4. That might be the best season. I don't know.
By this time you're pretty invested. It's hard not to love season four because of the awaited and exciting episode one. You know what I mean? I mean, you're coming into it where you're finally figuring out here that Picard is Locutus of Borg, and you've got to handle that. And so you're just like, I don't know, you're in it. You
Yeah,
are in it.
you're coming back from this 3 month hiatus where when we left off on season 3, they had figured out there's some way they can attack the Borg ship and possibly destroy it. They did something to the deflector dish, whatever that was, and then uh, you end the episode with Riker saying, "Mr. Worf, fire," and it's very definitive.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's like you say this word and you cut to be continued, and it's like you're gonna come back and the Borg cube is gonna be destroyed.
yeah,
But it's really anticlimactic when you come back and he says fire
yeah,
and nothing happens. Like
yeah,
literally.
yeah, yeah.
No effect whatsoever. And it's
No.
because Locutus has all of Picard's memories and knows the tactics they're going to come across with.
Exactly knows what they're going to do. It is hilarious though because you really did leave like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And it's like, you know,
Throw Picard off. They can't.
no, 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 no. Um, One of the things that I think I liked about this season too is you had a few situations like I think one of them is lore for Data, and lore becomes a uh all the way through Picard, is an addressed, character throughout. This wasn't the first time we saw Lore, was it though? Didn't we see Lore way
He
before, right? He was
Yeah, he
season
showed up in the first season. Yeah.
season one.
Uh,
But we haven't
the
we have but we get to see him again. But we only saw him in the first time. We only saw him that one time. Did we see him again in the other ones? This is like the second time, isn't it?
I think this is the second time Lore shows up, and it's
Right.
because their creator turns out is
Union
still
some.
alive,
Yeah.
and and summons them. I guess
Yeah.
I would, Data kind of goes into this trance and starts doing all these things that really should get him kicked out of Starfleet for the actions that he performs to get to his father, as it was.
Right.
Um,
Only on the Enterprise are things like this allowed. The ends
right,
justify the
right.
means.
It's a good thing you've got a really close relationship with Jean-Luc Picard, because
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
didn't, man, court martial coming right up. So I want to talk about the episode that came before that one, Family. This was the second episode of the season, comes right after Picard is unborged. And instead of jumping straight into, another space battle, they do this episode about Picard going home
Yeah, it's his
to see
brother.
his family.
Yeah.
Um, we get there and we're introduced to his brother Robert, who is kind of a jerk. And it's my favorite scene in the episode, and really, gosh, it brings me to tears, to be honest. Um, they Jean-Luc and Robert start wrestling in the mud like they were kids. But I mean, it comes from a place where they've got so much animosity built towards each other
Right.
after all these years, and then when they realize what they're doing, then they start laughing. But then Jean-Luc breaks down and he delivers this incredibly emotional monologue about what it was like to be violated by the Borg and what it was like to be trapped inside Locutus as they were doing all of these horrible, like, destroying so many Starfleet vessels and killing so many people, and he feels so responsible for it. And he's got just got that weight on him. Uh, Such a great performance by Patrick Stewart.
So good. Um, yeah, you got to appreciate, all of the Shakespearean acting and theatrical acting that he is um in his history. Patrick Stewart's that came out there. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
He's just his delivery is so incredible. But because if you think about it, and hats off to the writing, of course, but you got to think it could have not been handled like you had to have like a good writing and good performance to deliver that, and that really met it. Otherwise, because think about it, you're talking about a show that, yes, of course, people are getting more and more invested in the characters and all that stuff, but it's a sci-fi show. And so, getting hooked up to a technology Borg, entity, and then being unhooked about it. I think most shows are just kind of like what would otherwise be like, yep, glad that's over with. Moving on to the next battle. You know what I mean? For them
Yeah,
to do this and kind of unpack the invasion of his body and his mind, right? And all of that, I think was really strong. And honestly, it just all the more invests you into him, you
hmm,
know? Um,
yeah.
mm, yeah.
Before we move on from this one, did you know that Gene Roddenberry, creator of Star Trek, hated this episode?
Why?
He thought that people in the future wouldn't have family drama anymore.
Yeah.
So the
That's
writers basically had to ignore him and make this one happen. I'm sorry. Family drama is going to happen everywhere at all times. I don't care who you are or how enlightened your society is. People, I mean, go to Thanksgiving with anybody's family and tell me there ain't family drama.
yeah. 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 What now? Another thing in this season, did we get what is this the one where we got Alexander?
Yes.
We get
Yep.
Alexander in this season finally, right? I like
Yeah.
Alexander's character.
We
Who
have
played him? Who's that kid? He was good.
so in the first time he's on here, I don't know who it is, but after this, the next time we see him and from then on, it's Brian Bot is it Bosworth? I don't know. He was the kid from Blank Check,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he
That's right.
was the youngest Keaton on Family
Yeah,
Ties.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, he did great.
Um, yeah. So this is he shows up in I think it's Reunion is the name of the episode. Kalar
Yeah.
comes back and surprise has Worf's secret son with her.
Yeah.
Drops that bombshell, and then because this is Star Trek and because we can't have nice things, she's killed by Duras. Uh, and at least Worf gets to throw down with Duras in a epic batleth fight,
Yeah.
which is pretty awesome. Of course, that
Yeah.
almost gets him kicked out of Starfleet. Um,
Yeah.
but thankfully that doesn't happen. And unfortunately for now, Alexander, I guess they weren't sure what to do with him being so young.
Yeah.
They send him off to go live with Worf's adoptive human parents, the
Yeah.
Rogenkos.
Yeah.
Um, but man, what a I would say this is a pretty powerful episode too. When Worf and Alexander walk in on Kalar's dead body, it's like, wow,
Yeah. 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 We also have Wesley, who's coming up in the ranks in this season,
yeah,
right? And
he's
he has his
headed off
own.
to the academy.
He's headed to the academy. So that was an episode with him and Picard. Um, he and Picard have a tumultuous relationship, if as you consider the fullness of this show, and ultimately, later, but as we'll get to eventually. But Yeah, very, very interesting relationship. He isn't, I don't know that Wesley would have loved for him to be in the father role and considers him, to be in the fatherly role, certainly,
Right.
for him, but definitely not necessarily a role that Jean-Luc Picard would have wanted to have and
Mm.
has probably reluctantly in the end accepted that responsibility, though still holds some responsibility in my mind as we'll get further in seasons for that not being as cultivated as it could have been. Does that make sense? Am I being too cryptic? But it's just true. I mean, it just seems like, you see an opportunity, especially here in the episode where they're on this away mission together. You see this opportunity for going from here. You can have, him going off and doing this, him checking in on him investing in him and going on. And I think that I don't know. I feel like that was not as great as it could have been eventually in the show.
Yeah, I think that they kind of gave us this episode to provide us with as much of that pseudo father son dynamic as they could.
I don't think
Um,
you ever get it more than this episode, really, if you
yeah,
think about it.
because I mean, overall, you look at their relationship, and it starts out really antagonistic, I think, on Picard's part, because
Right.
not because he doesn't like Wesley,
Right.
but I think because he doesn't know how to be around kids.
That's right.
And I think that's a running theme throughout the series.
Yeah.
Like he
Right.
doesn't really understand, even though he is on the flagship of the Federation,
Right.
which has families on it.
Right.
He's really not much of a kid person, and he doesn't
Right.
spend time with kids.
Right.
And so, we get growth in his character throughout the years, in that he is able to understand children better and to interact with children better, but he does not develop those kind of relationships like he could have had with Wesley,
Right.
considering Wesley was the son of his best friend.
Right. Which
And
don't you find weird, Aaron? Because like you think later when we get to generations, and he is affected by when they go in the Nexus and he sees and remember his is his nephew? What's the boy's
so
it's his
Renee
nephew,
is his
Renee.
nephew, who we
Yeah,
who we saw in Family.
right.
And in Generations, we find out at the beginning of the movie that the family
Renee's
was killed in
died.
a fire.
Yeah, yeah, everybody's dead, right. So
And
it's do you feel like because I don't get the impression that he was all of a sudden after family, he, is constantly in touch and has this cultivated relationship. Do you think he just hits that point and he's regretful that he didn't invest more time, in that and that he didn't not just at the loss, but that he did not give more of his time to his family and especially that because he obviously loved them and cared for them.
I would think, I mean, obviously we don't see his family anymore for the rest of the series.
Right.
And they're not even mentioned until Generations.
Exactly.
But I don't necessarily think that that means that he did not do better about keeping in touch with them after the events of that
Of that
episode,
episode,
Family.
right. Right.
Because they end on much better terms, he and Robert especially. And he even, if I'm remembering right, he even makes a promise to Renee to take him to Starfleet Academy at some point to show him around.
So here's what
Um,
gets me. This is the part, this is the reason why I have a little bit of struggle with the Wesley part, is because it feels like you have this opportunity where he could have been more that like the writers could have taken this in a way where he and Wesley, he kind of trains him up, you know what I mean? And he kind of at least is invested in him from a mentor father like figure. I was always bothered by later in Wesley's fall from grace for him. Similarly to the you remember West Wing Remember when the president and
Yeah.
Toby have their thing? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I hated that. I've always hated it, and I also have always hated how the because I really like the actor a lot that played Wesley. What's his name?
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. I like him, and I just feel like that the arc went downhill. And the reason why that's relevant to this season is because I feel like from here, this is the place where I feel like it didn't take off more. Obviously, he comes back. Obviously, there's plenty of things that happen in that. But to me, I'm like, I don't know. This went a different direction after this episode for me. What about you?
Well, looking at it realistically, you're looking at an episode where we're saying goodbye to Wesley because Will Wheaton is leaving the show. So you can't really do anything else with that relationship with him being gone.
Right, right.
But I get what you're saying. I get, I think that I don't know. I don't know. I think they did as much as they could with. I mean, Captain Picard is a very important person. And I think if he were going to have a family, he would have a family. If that was something he desired, it would be something he would do. I
Right,
think, we see in the Nexus, yes, that's something he wants, but I think that that's something he wants based on the tragedy of losing his brother and
right,
nephew at that time, and,
right,
in that moment, because it's fresh on his mind. There's no one else to carry on the Picard family name. And so now in the Nexus where anything can happen, this is a fantasy that he can cling to.
right,
Whereas in the real world, he's made his choice. He chose his career over family.
right.
And so he, I believe, would not allow himself to become closer to Wesley simply because, yes, this is my dead best friend's son.
And I like his mom a
And
little bit.
sure, I have a thing for his mom, whatever. Uh Say hi to your mom for me. But he does encourage Wesley
Right,
by giving him a role on the bridge as an acting ensign at what,
right.
the age of 13?
Yeah, good
He's
call.
very
Right.
young.
Yeah,
And so he recognizes in Wesley that he's a brilliant kid who has amazing ideas about how to do things better than
yeah,
they're already doing them on
yeah.
this galaxy class starship. And so he gives him every opportunity, I think, to speak his mind and to enact, things that he believes are important.
Right.
Gives him a chance to work in engineering alongside with the
I
warp
guess
core.
so. There
So,
was a lot of, but of course you don't see that really. I mean, and I
but it's
don't
not a
remember.
personal relationship,
Right.
right? It's
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 not
very
personal. Right.
professional.
Right. Right.
But I
Um.
think that he does make exceptions for Wesley that he probably wouldn't for
Right.
other teenagers, adolescents
They
on
wouldn't
the
have been
Enterprise.
afforded that opportunity. Yeah. One of the other things I wanted to bring up was we get to see two people that we do both love and adore, which is of course Deanna Troy's mother and Broccoli. I'm telling you what, again, it's like you see them operating in this season, which we're saying is probably one of our favorite seasons, and you get to things like that, and you're just like, you didn't have to. You didn't have to do it. You didn't have to have this episode. You know
Yeah,
what? Let's just make it 21 episodes this season. You don't have to do these two episodes, you know?
this one with Waxana was the one that I was talking about last time, where
Yeah,
it
right.
was
Yeah.
the you had shoot, David Ogden Stiers comes on as a guest star, and his society ends life at the age of 60, and she's freaking out about it and telling him he shouldn't do it. You
Right.
can't come and disrupt someone's culture. Oh, shut up, Waxana. Go to
You
Beta's
can't
head.
return. Of course, it became a running theme to have, at least one Q episode. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah,
is,
yeah, Cupid.
you know,
This was fun because he turned into Robin Hood.
yeah, yeah,
And oh man, it's a very very small thing, but at one point Jordy is he's playing the minstrel. He's
right.
he's in the role of the minstrel, and he's trying to play that little lute. And then Worf as Will Scarlet walks over, grabs the loot from him, and smashes it against the tree, and then hands it back to him. It's very Animal House. I
That's,
love it. I love it. Oh, it's
that's
so
so
great.
good. So good.
Um, one very serious episode that I thought was really well done. Do you remember the Drumhead?
Uh oh.
It's like the
Yeah.
Crucible. So it's
Yes.
you've got Gene Simmons who is guest starring as this retired admiral. She
Yes.
shows up to investigate the sabotage that is apparently happening, and ends up starting a witch hunt for Romulan spies that don't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, the performances there between, especially between her and again Patrick Stewart, are
Well,
just
that was
brilliant.
directed by Jonathan Frakes. You know, I wonder how many episodes he had done prior to this one directing, because he's a great director,
Yeah,
you know.
his episodes are usually really well done.
Yeah, and looks like Patrick Stewart did one as well, the Data one, where he's in a romantic relationship. Um, yeah, and there was another episode that I had marked. What's the one with the nightmares? The one with the night terrors. Remember
Where
that?
they don't
Where
have
they're
any REM sleep.
yeah, they don't have any REM sleep. You remember that one? That was
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, that was nuts. Well, the so we got to see get to the season finale,
Oh yeah.
Redemption, which it ends on a cliffhanger, but it's not as exciting as the cliffhanger we have.
I mean, how could it be? You
All
know,
right, yeah, I
you
don't
know.
think any of none of the upcoming season finale cliffhangers that we have compared to Best of Both Worlds, but
Yeah.
this one does give us Tasha Yar's half Romulan daughter,
Right.
which is just crazy.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid watching this episode and seeing her step out of the shadows at the end and be like, "What?"
Yeah. 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 No, that was crazy. And she did a great job in that role. You know, she's a great actress. It's interesting to me after killing her off. And I'm glad they switched out for Worf. I mean, obviously great great character change, but love that they were able to bring her back and have so
Mhm.
many episodes for that actress to be able to come back and reprise a role. So
I wish
um
they had brought her back for Picard at some point
yeah,
because by the end of the series, we just don't see her. We don't see her anymore after the unification episodes with Spock.
right.
At least I don't think we do. I think that's the last time we see her character. So I think it would have been great to find out. Yeah, she's still alive. She survived the supernova of the Romulan star, and she is scattered out there amongst the rest of the Romulan Empire.
Yeah, yeah. And the new
But we never
timeline.
find out what happened to her.
Yeah. Um,
Any other thoughts on season 4 before we move on?
no, no, I think that's good. Definitely a
It's a good
great
season.
season. Yeah.
A lot of great episodes.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. So, in our pop culture pulse today, uh, thought I'd bring up that Marvel just recently dropped their lineup of what's coming to film and television. We've got nine new projects
Oh,
coming up
please
in
tell me.
2025. And I don't have them all listed right here, right now, but uh, I'm pretty psyched for Fantastic Four.
Ah,
That one's coming out,
we'll
and it's
see.
supposed to be a period piece, like
Yeah.
taking place in the '60s. I'm
Well, and if
I
you
want to see
remember
how that's going to work.
Multiverse of Madness, that's when Strange makes a little comment to John Krasinski and says, "Did you guys peak in like the 50s or 60s or something like that?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah, or something like that. Or chart. That's what he said. Didn't you chart in the
I think
and
he was making a Beatles joke.
I was that was to me like, oh, I wondered if it was a reference, a throwback. I didn't know if it
so,
was a
so,
sequel.
so they say he was from the Fantastic Four, but I think he was mistaking them for the Fab Four, and which was a
Oh, I see.
nickname for the Beatles, and so I think he was making a joke about them topping the charts in the '60s. Yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
but
Gotcha. Well,
I
we'll
do
see. I
like
mean,
that they did
Pedro
that.
Pascal. Who's the girl?
Vanessa Kirby. She was in the last couple of Mission Impossible movies. She was in Hobbs and Shaw. Um, she's in the Mission Impossible universe. She's Job's
Oh,
daughter.
got it. Oh yeah, I
Not
like
Job.
her. I
Yeah,
like her. She did great.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'll watch it. All right, what else we got? Which one? What's on?
The other movies coming out, you got of course Captain America,
That
Brave New
looks
World
good.
is the next movie coming out.
I'll take some
Red
Harrison
Hulk.
Ford.
Harrison
Yeah,
Ford coming out as Red Hulk. I mean, come on now.
I'll take it.
And then between that and Fantastic Four, what's the other movie coming out? Crap, I can't remember. But anyway, we do have a Spider-Man cartoon, I believe, that is airing in December. Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man that is takes place in the MCU. It's supposed to be like a prequel, with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Tom Holland not doing the voice, but I think he is like as a freshman in high school, and first getting his power. So we might get an origin story. We may get an Uncle Ben, uh, in this one.
Great.
So
Sounds like a lot of great use of my time. Uh, yeah, yeah.
you
Anything more
really want
about?
to see? I really want to see. They did X-Men '97.
Yeah.
I want to see a Spider-Man '98.
Oh, that'll be great. Yeah.
I want to see because that
I love
series
that
ended
show.
on a cliffhanger
Yeah.
where Spider-Man went with Madam Web. They were going to go save Mary Jane in the multiverse,
Yeah.
but they never did it. They didn't continue that story, and the series ended. And then you get some stupid other version of Spider-Man where he has a cape. No, thank you. Come back and let's get Spider-Man '98. Bring back the dude that did the voice of Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid, and bring it back. Bring it all back. I want the original Spider-Man. That's the Spider-Man I grew up with. That's the Spider-Man I want to see his story continue. Where you at, Marvel? Where you at?
I'm not going to say anything negative because I don't have to.
Okay.
It's just out there.
In the ether.
It's a neither.
All right, recommendation time. I just finished the latest drop of Cobra Kai episodes on Netflix.
I still haven't watched the first episodes of the latest season.
So you have 10 episodes to catch up on, with
I
another five
do.
coming in 2025, which really irritates the crap out of me.
Did the next set do better? Because the first set I heard were little milk toast.
I mean, I enjoyed them.
Okay. Well, you
And
are similar in these things, so I'll have to give it the benefit of the doubt.
I mean, you end the so episode 10 of the season ends with arguably the biggest fight in Cobra Kai history.
Hmm.
Like, if you thought that the school fight at the end of season 2 was a big fight involving a lot of people,
Yeah.
that was nothing
All right.
compared to what we see. This is a freaking brawl. It's like battle royale. It is insane. Um, I'm excited to see where it's going to go. I'm sad that there's only 5 episodes left and then the series is going to be over. Um,
Do I get
but
Hillary Swank?
not yet.
Okay, because I'm just
I'm still
saying,
holding out
like,
hope that she's going to show up in the last 5.
it's only fair. It's only fair.
They've literally had everybody else show up.
That's what I'm saying. It's only fair,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah.
mean, unless she just doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to do it, full respect. But she got so much like hate for, and I actually liked the movie. I'm
I did
sorry
too.
if that's not cancel me, but that I liked the movie.
It wasn't horrible.
It wasn't horrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible.
It wasn't horrible. Uh, I think that, and I actually rewatched it recently, and
Those monks were so cute.
do
Those
what?
those monks that were with her were so cute. They were cute. They were like seven dwarves. You know what I mean? Just like they were cute.
I mean, they introduced Zen bowling. I mean, what is there not to love?
I
The
love that scene. It's such a great scene.
the no, so one of the things that I feel like could draw her into the show is well, I can't tell you because you haven't seen the first 5 episodes
All
of
right.
season 6, so you don't know what's going on.
I
But
know
there's
I know some things, but I will watch them. I'll commit. I'm committing. I'm gonna
okay.
commit.
Well, I just there are certain things that happen in the first part of season 6 that I feel like could draw Hilary Swank's character in, um, not only as a student of Miyagi-Do, but as somebody who has experienced some of the same life experiences as another young character in the show. And that's I'll leave it at that.
Corey.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I know. All right.
Um,
All right. All right. No, say no more. I will so that we can more fully talk about this because I know I'm in now you've got me. You got me intrigued.
you're hooked.
I've got you intrigued in Silo. You've got me intrigued in Cobra Kai.
Your story. All right. Unfortunately, once again, we do not have any audience interaction for this episode. Guys, where you at? We need some banter. Even if you disagree with us, let us know. We'll have an argument with you right here,
Right here.
and
It'll be
we'll tell you why you're
one-sided.
wrong.
It'll be one-sided, but that's
That's
okay
right.
by us.
That's right. We don't mind being one sided and telling you what's wrong with your argument. All right. Time to spin the wheel of
Bring the
topics.
wheel. This is the wheel of time.
Okay.
This is the wheel of you know.
Wheel of morality. Turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn. Moral number 8.
What is that, Vader? What?
Underrated live action kids shows from the 90s.
That sounds good.
Underrated live action shows from the 90s.
I like
Teen
that.
teen kid shows. So does Kids Incorporated fall under that? That was still going on in the 90s, right?
Of course.
All right. What's
K
next?
I D S O. Looks
Whoa.
like we made it. The comp. What is that?
The competitive side of video games.
The what?
The competitive side of
Oh,
video games. So
yes.
like what esports, we can get into all of that. And not just that, but like
Fortnite.
have you ever watched a speed run? Like people who compete in speed run competitions, like
I've
playing through
seen.
certain games.
I've seen like old NES ones, like
Yeah.
which are insane. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
These are people who like memorize pixels and know exactly when to hit what button and know how to like exploit glitches in the game to make them go faster. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like
wow,
people who like completely beat Metroid from start to finish in like 11 minutes. It's insane.
huh?
So,
I'm gonna watch a speed run and prep for our next one. Now we will have a hot minute between this release and our next one, right? We'll have a little bit of time between now and then.
that's right. We will have a slight hiatus, unless I'm able to find somebody to come on and do a guest spot, but I'm not like putting my feelers out there or anything. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
So if we
So
don't
you may
see
just see
you,
us next time.
we don't see you, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah, we're there.
Man, it's in November.
It is. Yeah.
All right. So until next time, I'm Aaron. That's Landon, and this has been the Show. We want you to have a great whatever it is wherever you are.
Take care.